Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Insight into Mental Health. I'm Bob Bienvenu, your host, and my co-host Richard Phelps couldn't be here tonight, but he might be calling. This is going to be a special program since I'm doing it by myself. And tonight, if y'all have been watching, y'all know I am an author, and I have 13 books on Amazon, and I'm going to try to talk to y'all about them. You know, y'all might find them interesting. I write for therapy, and I write for fun. It's enjoyable to create new characters, and it's great therapy. Some people like to play music. Some people like to do sports. I do sports too, but I also write. So tonight I'm going to start talking about my books, but I find it hot in here. So I'm going to take this jacket off if y'all don't mind. And I would like to say, before I came over here, I was watching old reviews of the Oscars. And I saw these people that would win Oscars that had such joy, you know. And they knew everybody over there. They were famous. They were wealthy. They were beautiful. They were some of the wealthiest people in the world. They were beautiful, creative. And you know, that would be a good goal to attain, you know. But then I started thinking, I'm not wealthy, I'm not beautiful, but I can write. I can write stories, you know. I can tell stories. And I might not have the connections or the friends or whatever these people have, whether they're good or not, but I have my relationship with Jesus Christ. And he has given me the health of a warrior, you know, at 72 years old. Thank God for my father, Jesus. Like I went to Reds 2 days ago and I was bench pressing with 45-pound dumbbells, you know. That's not too bad for a 72-year-old man, you know. So, in all my books I have spirituality in it. So if y'all will have the patience to follow me through this journey of my books, I will start off with my first book. This is the first book I wrote. You know, schizophrenia, I've been dealing with schizophrenia for over 50 years, and it is a heinous illness, you know. What your mind goes through with the paranoia and hearing voices and the delusions and all that, how it makes you feel horrible. You know, the fear is terrifying. And I would like to say I went through that after I had a breakdown in the service in 1971. And I was diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. And I went from job to job, you know, always wanting a girlfriend, never had any, you know, always by myself most of the time, had friends, got into the hippie days, and by then all my group of friends were going their way, got girlfriends, got married or whatever, and I was left alone. Excuse me. And the schizophrenia was starting to manifest, you know, paranoia and all that. You know, I'd go talk to my psychiatrist and tell him that everybody in St. Martinville was talking about me from where that's where I was born and raised. And he would just put me, increase my medicine, you know. But anyway, that's a different story. But, I was working at a restaurant called Possums, and I was washing dishes for a living to supply my habit of 4 packs of cigarettes a day and almost a case of Diet Cokes a day, and I ran into this guy, Mike Fuseli. Mike, if you're watching, I got your name on there. Mike led me to the Lord when nobody had anything to do with me. You know, people made fun of me, laughed at me, didn't take me serious or anything. And all I wanted to be was liked and cared for. But that's another story. But I'm getting off the deep end. So anyway, I'm going to start on the books I wrote. I was so grateful when I gave my life over to the Lord that I started this TV show, Insight into Mental Health, 16 years ago. And I wrote this book on my life. It's an autobiography. Let's see. From Light to Darkness to Glory. The book is From Light to Darkness to Glory. From light when growing up in St. Martinville was a dream. You know, that it was a great time for America. We had just beaten the Germans and the Japanese, and America was the most prosperous and great, strongest country in the world. And I grew up in an upper middle class family, and my father was a pharmacist, and even though he was strict, you know, I had everything I needed. And you know, I was in the Boy Scouts, I was in the altar boys, I was in a lot of things, I had a lot of friends. That's when things were simple and were good. You know, the people were decent, you know. It's a different world today. Back then, it was glorious. And it was great, you know. And then I wrote this book. We got a call. Yes, caller.
Yeah, I need to talk to Mr. Alan Simon, please.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I think you got the wrong number. Okay. So anyway, this is the story of my life growing up in St. Martinville, where I got into the hippie days. I got busted for growing marijuana. We were young and foolish. And I had a nervous breakdown in the service and went through job to job till I gave my life over to the Lord, and things started to get better. I started to lift weights, and I became fairly good at it. To this point now, I have 51 AAU world title, powerlifting titles, and weightlifting titles to my name. I have 40-something state records with lifting. My best lifts in my 50s were a 300-pound bench press, a 300-pound squat, and a 375-pound deadlift. And I'm still lifting weights, and you know, thank God. You know, I'm in good health. I thank God for my health every day. So that's my book, From Light to Darkness to Glory. And also I wrote 13 books, you know. And I would like to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, how can somebody with one of the worst, and I mean the worst, of all the mental illnesses, excuse me, hello?
Yes, I'm down 366-8951, and I'm trying to get connected with a French-speaking man on television.
Yes, this is he.
Okay, are you Mr. Al Simon?
No, ma'am, no, you got the wrong number.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So anyway, that's my story of my life. And like I was saying, how can somebody with one of the worst of all the mental illnesses be able to write 13 books and still write, you know? And then still have an active mind and is still writing, and has won so many world titles in weightlifting. and has even started this show on mental illness for the public, because I was so grateful for what the Lord did, you know. And that's a story. This is a story in itself. But now I don't think I'll be able to finish all my books, but I'm going to go on the time traveler. Talk about the time traveler. This is my second book that I wrote, The Time Traveler, by Bob Bienvenu. You see, if you look in, you can see the time machine and the girl and the guy. You know, that's Bob's girlfriend Susan, who was my very first girlfriend. I named her after that. And this is a story about this young guy, Jared Bork, whose dad was a physicist and gets killed in a car wreck. And Jared finds out that his dad had an apartment in St. Maryville. That's where they were from. And Jared would go over there, and he went over there, and that's where he found his dad had built the time machine. His dad was a physicist and was always interested in time travel. So, Jared was also a really intellectual guy. So he starts reading the blueprint of the time machine and everything, and he goes to different times. His dad was going to go to 1939, I think it is, to kill Hitler, to stop World War II. And he died in a car crash before he did it. So Jared went, and he was in the beer hall where Hitler was, and he was going to kill Hitler. He had gone in the past. And then something came into his mind saying, it is what it is. You'll do the right thing. Remember, manifest destiny. And that stopped Jared from killing Hitler. He had a snub-nosed revolver with a silencer, and he stopped, and he went back. He went back in time, and he didn't know. He thought he was a failure, but then he realized he wasn't a killer like Hitler. He couldn't do that. So anyway, these words keep coming to his mind, giving him ideas on to go meet Queen Elizabeth in 1559, and Jared takes a time machine and goes and meets Queen Elizabeth, by saying, it is what it is. Remember, manifest destiny, you'll do the right thing. And Queen Elizabeth has gotten that in her mind when she sleeps in a dream. So that's how Jared contacts Queen Elizabeth, George Washington, Leonardo da Vinci, and he brings his girlfriend along, Susan DeMai. And it is there that Jared, in Queen Elizabeth's time, that Jared and Susan get married. And, that they have a banquet. And, the musicians are playing, and Jared and Susan start doing the twist by Chevy Checker in front of everybody, and everybody catches on, and they all start doing the twist. That's just a humor part of the book. But in the meantime, Jared goes through here, keeps hearing the voices, and finds out that these are aliens leading him toward these different centuries and people to fill out a puzzle where he learns how to build a radio to talk to the aliens, the Quatrainians that are talking to him, and explaining it to him that in the future an asteroid is coming to Earth in 2015, and that Jared is the one chosen to build a weapon to destroy the asteroid, and that there are some bad guys out there too, the Klingons that are out to get him, you know? So anyway, that's just part of the story, and Jared goes from century to century talking to these people. He sees Leonardo da Vinci painting Lisa Giocondi, and Jared gives Leonardo the name Mona Lisa, so to name the painting. So it's a story about love between Jared and Susan and how much they care for each other and the adventure they're going on, And I won't go through much of the story, but it's an adventure of love, loyalty, honor, and spirituality, and it is a good book. That's my book, The Time Traveler. I won't be able to get to all the books, but this is the second book of the series. I got 5 books of the series that only 2 of them been written. Time Tripping the Planets, Y'all See the Aliens, Part 2, War on Klingons that I wrote about, And in this book, Jared's father has already been restored to life when Jared and Susan go to White Sands, New Mexico, where Jared's father is working on the Manhattan Project when Jared is only 2 years old. And he and Susan are able to explain to him about the time machine. And they rescue him the night in 1967 when he would have his car crash. So Jared's dad is alive, and they are sent to they destroy the asteroid. I'll say that. But anyway, there's a war coming on with the Klingons that wanted to take Jared's time machine away and rule the galaxy. So Jared and their friends, he has friends from Atlantis, from the city of Atlantis, underwater center of Atlantis, who have made weapons that will help Jared and the Quaternions. Those are the good guys. They're kind of like the Watchers were on the Fantastic Four comic books, They were globalists of the galaxy, helping everybody out, so there's a war on Earth in 1967, and it's the Quaternions and some of their allies, and Jared and Susan and his dad, and they fight the Klingons. And there's a big war in the desert, and Jared does some great things, brave things like they have different. The Quaternions have raised Tyrannosaurus Rexes for their soldiers to ride on to attack the Klingons, and pterodons. Those are the big birds with the big wings and everything, and and there's a big war going on, and in the meantime, they defeat the enemy, and also Jared has entered ULM, University of Martin, where he and Susan are going to school, and they have their friends that they hang around with. They go to the Dairy Den to have hamburgers and Cokes and cut up, and go to Slick's, a nightclub in the book, where groups like Vanilla Fudge and Janice Ian and Simon and Garfunkel play. And in the book, I have some of the songs written down and it's their story of their adventure, you know. And let me see something. Let me see something. And it's about their travels through the world, you know. And I've also written 3 books behind this one, of the time traveler. I'm trying to make a trailer of the time traveler with the help of a friend of mine to put out to the movie people, you know. But we'll see. We'll leave it in the hands of God. But there's 3 other books behind that. 3 other time travel books behind that. So anyway, okay, I got another call. Yes, caller.
Yes, sir. I had an experience. I mean, in Louisiana, I'm not from here. I went hunting out in the bayou, and I found some dogs. And there's only 2 of them, not 4 of them. And I talked to the ranger out there. He said, you need to leave this area because there's werewolves out here. And I couldn't believe it. He said he was from the Department of the Interior, and they kill off the dogman werewolves in the bayou and the Bigfoot, and this is nationwide. He said, you're carrying a 12 gauge. You're not going to stop that. He said, unfortunately, people would go missing in national parks in Louisiana because of dogmen. That's just a warning. I'm a veteran too, but that really scared me kind of pink, you know, thinking I was out there.
Yeah.
I got this thing running down. But
Yeah.
I couldn't believe there's such thing in the bayou of Louisiana. That's just a word of warning. I know people traipse off by the 7.
Okay.
The man from the U.S. government, he told me don't go back to that area. So
Okay.
I'll go shop at Walmart.
Well, sir, it's a strange world, and strange things are going on in this world today, you know, and there's a lot of bad, so I wouldn't be surprised, you know.
Me either. I said next time I go hunting, I'm going to bring a bigger shot and it's all it was. Okay, Brian, I appreciate you. Yeah. I hope you have a great new year.
Thank you. Okay. My time traveler books. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start on my my Heaven's Warriors books. Now, you know, ladies and gentlemen, it's a tough world out there, and there's still slavery, you know, going on in this world. There's still prostitution going on, where these young girls are taken away by these cartels or whatever for prostitution. And I didn't like that, which is why I wrote in my book, Heaven's Warriors. I'm going to start off with this. Show you all what this is. It's Heaven's Warriors. And that's an angel, a warring angel. And it's a book on this Reverend Richard Ledden, who opens up a church in Leadville, in Linville, and you know, they got these 2 angels, Grog and Dash, who are watching these men unload furniture into this big 5-story building. And, you know, and Grog looks at Dash and says, and so it begins. And they find out that what it is a casino and a house of prostitution. And Richard Ledden finds out about this, and you know, he finds out about some girls who have been arrested for prostitution, and he goes over there to talk to them, to see what's going on, and you know, the girls are in jail, and he finds out that the sheriff is in cahoots with the casino owner and everything. And one time the girls are at the casino, and they're chained to their beds. And all of a sudden, these angels, Grog and Dash, who are bodybuilding angels, looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, with 18-inch arms, 20-inch arms, and they cut the chains. They swing their swords and cut the chains of the girls' bed, and free them. And the girls are able to escape and go to Richard Ledden's place, where he gets in touch with Father Bill, a priest, and they're able to bring the girls to the Catholic seminaries, Catholic place where they're safe, But anyway, that's just one of the things that happened. But through fighting the casino owners, Richard Ledden finds out that one of the guys, Anton, is a devout Satanist, and he's trying to. There's all kind of casinos owned by this guy Barack, and these are all devil worshippers, and Richard Ledden, through the girls, find out that a boat is being shipped in from Iran by ISIS, when ISIS was, and they're being brought to New Orleans to be put on different buses to go to different casinos to serve as prostitutes. And some of these girls are 12 years old, 13 years old, young, And Richard Ledden finds out about it, and he notifies Captain of the FBI, Ronnie Theron, and he has his friend Mike Fuselier with him helping, and also with Bobby and Liz Bienvenue, and his girlfriend Liz Bertrand, and they're out there in New Orleans, and they're hiding, and they see the ship come in, and there's a big battle with the soldiers, and this guy Barack is riding a dragon, and the demons are coming, fighting the horde of people, and Bobby and Liz and Richard are all on their knees praying for cover from the Lord, and all of a sudden a slew of angels led by Michael and Gabriel are out there, and Grog and Dash, and they're fighting the demons, and the good guys win, And all throughout the book, it's just their dealings with these people that are into child molestation and prostitution, and that is the book Heaven's Warriors, and the good guys win, of course. And then I wrote another book, a sequel to it, The Reckoning. Let me read something from it. Pastor Richard led a battle against a satanic cult and a mob-related casino owner, Anton. They had in the first book, they get arrested, Anton and Damien, and they escape Leavenworth, and they're back to start their business again, this time in the Bahamas, where they have a casino in the Bahamas. And Anton has his choice of women to do what he wants to do. It's whatever. And Pastor Ledden is praying with his people, and and the angels are watching out and letting them know, and they take him to, they pick him up from the air and fly him to a meeting of a satanic cult, that a meeting where everybody's wearing black robes and gold robes, and Anton and Damon are leading everything, and talking about their new business, where they'll also be doing drugs besides transporting young women for prostitution. And that's the story on that show, that stuff, you know. And that's where I wrote another book, but it hasn't been edited yet. But this is about angels helping this minister, Pastor Richard Ledden, who are named after one of my pastors, Richard Leday. If y'all know Richard Leday, he's a great guy, holy guy, you know. And that's the story. And then in the meantime, I also wrote these books. I was so grateful for what God had done for me. I wrote a book, Mental Illness, God, and Healing. And it starts off with the history of mental illness, where it started. Like in the old day, in the ancient times, they did trepitation, where they would drill a hole in the skull for people that were acting unusual or were mad, to let out the demons out the skull, you know. And they were doing things like dunking them in freezing cold water to shock the system, and doing all kind of ancient barbaric things to heal the people of the madness they had. And then eventually they built some asylums where the people were chained to a wall, you know, on a bed of straw, you know, on the ground, on the cement. And, you know, it was horrible things. I'm lucky I'm in the 20th century, because I'd be chained to one of those walls, you know. So anyway, and then the next part of the book is about the history of psychiatry, where these fathers, first people, I forgot what their names were, but they started psychiatry. And of course, y'all all remember Sigmund Freud. They came along, and Jung. They came along later, you know, and they added to it, and they studied under these guys. And it relates to the history of psychology, and that's how psychology or psychiatry was started, you know. And then the third part of the book, I list the different mental illnesses. That people have, you know, from like paranoid schizophrenia, which I have. There's different schizophrenias, you know. I have paranoid schizophrenia, where you have delusions, you think things that aren't real, and you know, when it manifests itself, it can get pretty eerie, you know. But thank God, because I always took my medicine, I had to go to the hospital 2 years ago, but besides that, I haven't been to the hospital since the service, you know. So that's my books. The next book, Mental Illness, God, and Healing, Part 2. This is a book where I interviewed people with different mental illnesses. Let me see if I can find something. Like autism and Asperger's. Let me read what it says. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Bienvenu, and have been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia for the last 50 years. This book is the sequel to Mental Illness, God, and Healing. It has a new twist with the interjection of interviews by people with different mental illnesses, ranging from schizophrenia to bipolar, borderline personality disorder, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, OCD, and multiple personality disorders. And I would like to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, the name Mental Illness, God, and Healing is that if you have a mental illness and you have a spiritual life also, it will greatly enhance your life. It will give you a new life, you know. That medicine or anything, of course, keep taking your medicine. But, if you keep taking your medicine, seeing your doctor, seeing your psychiatrist, going to your support groups, if you go to church and pray to God and have a relationship with Jesus Christ, it can give you a new life like it gave me, How do you think without God, I'd be depressed right now. I'm not depressed. I'm happy. I've never had much love in my life. Nobody ever wanted me, hardly. I have friends now that love me. But in the lean days, nobody wanted to have anything to do with me. Till Mike came along and started a new life. Thank you, Mike. But anyway, that's some of the books I've written. And before I get to Father's Love, I would like to show y'all a book I've written. This is the last book I've written, Chloe's Godly Adventures, that I wrote with my friend Linda Moe. If you can see the picture of the guy holding the dog, that's me and Chloe, who passed away this year. And Chloe's Godly Adventures is about this this dog Chloe, who belonged to this group of people, Bob Bork and Liz Bork, and their 3-year-old daughter Linda. And how Chloe is in Carlsbad Cavern. She's 2 years old, and she sees that they're on a tour, and she sees this toad, and she's curious about it. It's a horned toad, and she chases it, and she gets lost. And when she goes to find her people, she can't find them. She's real confused and scared. And she goes back to this place where she chased the horned toad and comes face to face with the horned toad. And the toad isn't afraid anymore, and they talk. The whole toad is talking, and the toad says, "I'll bring you to your family, but first you gotta follow me to these different time warps, and we will minister God's word to these people." And all of a sudden, a cloud comes along, picks them up, and drops them off in England in 1559, where Chloe meets Queen Elizabeth, who at 25 is being crowned Queen of England, and it's Chloe's different trips into time where she meets other historical figures, like I said before in one of my books, George Washington, when George Washington crosses the Delaware River in the Battle of Trenton fighting the British, and she's able to give messages to Washington to give his life over to the Lord and help in the battle. And she goes through different centuries, you know. And I wrote that book, and it's a really nice little book. It's a good read. She meets Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie in the Alamo. She goes to Gettysburg, where she meets General Lee and eventually Abraham Lincoln. She goes with, and she, all this is being done by a time cloud. Is supernatural, with God directing everything. And every time she goes to a different century, she's able to impart the words of God, you know, to these people, you know, supernaturally. And she also goes to see Winston Churchill during World War II for England, you know. So that's some of the adventures Chloe has in her life, you know. So that I wrote, and I'm on the second book of Chloe, because in the first one she only goes in the past. In the second book, she's going to go in the future too. Now, this book is a series, A Father's Love. It's about a boy whose father, Charlie Seymour, gets killed, dies from war wounds for fighting at the Battle of the Bulge during World War II. And Jude, the main character, who I named after my brother Donald's second name, middle name, is raised without a father figure, because his father, Charlie, dies when Jude is 2 years old. And the book starts at 4 years old. Jude is a little boy, and it's his life, how he grows up in the small town of Saint Maryville, which is Saint Martinville, and how he deals with not having a father figure. His mom marries another guy, but the guy doesn't like Jude. So Jude has no father figure, and you know, Jesus comes into the scene, you know, and for example, when Jude has a lot of friends, grows up with some friends, and when he's about 12, he's swimming in the Bayou Teche with his friend Johnny. And Johnny dives into the water off the bridge, which we did as kids, and doesn't come up. And Jude just suddenly dives into the water to find Johnny, and you know, all of a sudden he flies out of the water, and he's in the hands of John the Baptist. He has just transported into time, back into the biblical times, where John the Baptist is holding him and has just dunked him into the Jordan River to baptize him. And then all of a sudden he sees Jesus walking toward him, and Jesus said, "You will do many great things in my name," you know. And got a call. Yes, caller.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Richard.
I'm just finishing Chloe's Godly Adventures, and it's wonderful.
It's good, Richard.
I'm at the part where she meets the Bork family, Liz and Bob, and the little girl Linda, and she's just barking and excited, and meets the Persian cat.
Yeah.
It has a lot of character in the book.
Yeah. Well, part of that reason is because of my co-writer, Linda Moe, who added to the book, you know.
Yes. And the little conversations going between Lucy the Cardinal and Oscar the Horned Toad and Chloe, especially as they meet all these people from history, is really endearing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Jacob White said he read it. He said that book could go places, you know. So we'll
Oh, I
see.
know it can.
We'll
I
see.
know it can.
Yeah. Have you been listening to the show the whole time, Richard?
I got about half of it.
Okay. How's it going?
Well, I had some good, yummy, homemade leftover spaghetti with grass-fed beef, meatballs, and it was delicious.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. If you don't mind, Richard, I'm talking about a father's love. You read them all, you know.
Oh, yes.
And I'm talking about Jude when Jude's a kid, and his mother is raising him and stepfather, and he finally eventually grows up to have a paper route where, like I did, where he would go, and he becomes an altar boy, where he goes in the morning to get a lemon pie, you know. And the girl that serves him her name is Myra, who is actually the name of a girl that married one of my friends, T. Hospi Avenue, you know, beautiful girl. That's how I used to name, and they become good friends, you know, huh?
Who did she marry again?
No, she married a friend of mine named T. Hospi Avenue.
Okay.
But anyway,
One of the avenues in St. Martinville.
yes. Anyway, this is the story of Jude's life and his friends and how God is giving Jude supernatural gifts, like he becomes an athlete and he becomes a pole vaulter, and he's able to go to the Olympics with his friend Johnny and win the gold medal in 1968. And then and it's a story of his life as he goes to college. He graduates from high school, goes to college, and gets a degree, and then he joins the service. He joins the army. And he's stationed in Vietnam, where they're on patrol, and all of a sudden a hand grenade comes out in front of the midst of Jude and his fellow soldiers, and Jude dives on the grenade and it blows up, and Jude is torn to pieces, you know, and then all of a sudden the blood stops. And the wounds heal. And Jude is healed except for pinkish skin, you know? And that's Jude's story in Valor and Victory, that my third book I wrote. And it's about Jude, getting captured again by the Viet Cong, and where the head of the POW camp, Hatchet, it's called Hatchet, because he's a bad guy, challenges Jude about his Christian belief in God and everything, and even puts him on a cross where he's hanging there and being tortured, and Hatchet says, "I bet you would like to kill me now, huh?" And Jude said, "I forgive you." And Hatchet is so enraged that he grabs a spear and sticks it in Jude's side. He said, "That's how Jesus was killed, and I'm doing it to you." And then his fellow soldiers come take him down, and all of a sudden Jude is healed again. God has his hand in all that. And I'd like to say God had his hand in all these books that I wrote. Paranoid schizophrenics don't write books that make sense, you know. They just don't. That's a miraculous thing. Wouldn't you say, Richard?
Yes.
You know. So anyway, in the series, Jude goes to the Olympics a few times, and wins gold medals, you know. And he and his friend Johnny go to the world championships, and they raise their families. You know, the girls they grow up with when they were kids, they end up marrying. Jude marries Myra, and she has 3 kids for him. Janae, Larry Kay, and Lucy, and they're all different ages, and it's a story of love, and also danger, where Jude helps the Israelis capture some Nazis in Colorado, and there's a gunfight and everything, and some people get shot, some people get killed. The Nazis are captured thanks to his Israeli friends and also his buddies from Vietnam who also helped. And you know, Jude, after the capture, Jude is able to go through God's help to heal the people that were shot. You know, and that's Jude's story. He goes into things like that. You know. He goes into danger different times, and now all the time while raising his family. And then as his kids get older, they start riding horses. And all in the meantime, people are hearing about Jude and sending money to him to ask for prayers. And it's quite a bit of money, you know, like over $1 million Jude gets, you know. But anyway, his daughter Janae becomes a horse jumping champion, and his family grows, and they start practicing equestrian events, you know. And Jude is able to go to the Olympics with his friend Johnny, where he wins a few gold medals, you know, 4 gold medals in this last book that I'm writing that's being edited. That's his 5th gold medal that he wins in the Olympics for pole vaulting. And they're pole vaulting like this fabulous pole vaulter, Mondo Duplantis, is doing 20 feet 2 inches, 20 feet 3 inches. You know, I got them to where they have the record of 20 feet 6 inches. You know, it's fiction, so you know. So anyway, and that's where I am in that book. And in the meantime, they come across another casino where the guy that runs it, Orange, is also a satanic guy, and he's fighting against Jude in different battles, and Jude always beats him, you know. In fact, one time, Jude he's preaching at Richard Lenin's church, and it's Christmas, I think, or New Year's, when Jude is outside, and all of a sudden the shot rings out, and Jude is shot in the chest. And he's rushed to the hospital and everything. And, you know, his friend Rusty Godet takes out the bullets, and a childhood friend. And Jude is in a coma for 6 months. And in the meantime, he's astral projecting all over the place, you know, and helping people. So anyway, that's some of the stuff about that I've done in my books, you know. And at this point in my life at 72, my mind is still sharp. I forget things at my age. Schizophrenia is tough. When it manifests, it's tough. But I've been managing it, you know. And I would like to say I've taken the Alzheimer's test, and thank God I don't have Alzheimer's, you know. So I'm healthy, and I give all the credit to the Lord Jesus Christ for my health, you know. I don't have diabetes. I don't have hepatitis. I don't have a skin disease. And I'm drinking water if y'all curious. But anyway, that's what I do for my mental health. I write, I create. And it is a great passion. It is a great hobby, You create things out of nothing. And I would like to say, if you're all by yourself and don't know what to do with yourself, take a walk. Take a walk. And if you don't believe there's a God, ask him to prove to you that he's real. And I guarantee you, look at my life. This wouldn't be from my life if it wouldn't be for God. Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all from Seymourville, y'all remember how I was back then. I'm a different person, That's it, Jacob?
That's it, 10 seconds.
Oh, so anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this story. It's a great story, and I give all the credit to my Lord Jesus Christ. And thank you, Mike Fusel, if you're watching. You started it all.